President Obama says the United States is hitting ISIS ever harder than ever. The president gave an update on the fight today against the terror group after meeting with his national security advisors at the Pentagon. President Obama has been under fire for a strategy for some, saying that he is not strong enough on the issue. Well, today the president tried to quiet those critics by offering specifics on the impact the U.S. mission has had.
We are hitting ISIL harder than ever. Coalition aircraft, our fighters, bombers, and drones have been increasing the pace of airstrikes, nearly 9,000 as of today. We're going after ISIL from their stronghold right in downtown Raqqa to Libya, where we took out Abu Nabil, the ISIL leader there. The point is, ISIL leaders cannot hide, and our next message to them is simple: you are next. So far, ISIL has lost about 40% of the populated areas it once controlled in Iraq, and it will lose more. Iraqi forces are now fighting their way deeper into Ramadi. They're working to encircle Fallujah and cut off ISIL supply routes into Mosul. Again, these are urban areas where ISIL is entrenched. Our partners on the ground face a very tough fight ahead, and we're going to continue to back them up with the support that they need to ultimately clear ISIL from Iraq.
Well, earlier, Elaine Keano and I spoke to Dan Raviv of CBS Radio News and CBS News State Department correspondent Margaret Brennan about the president's strategy.
President Obama is never going to pose in front of a banner that says mission accomplished, like the prior president. He's not going to do that. And in fact, he probably won't be able to. He has promised to destroy ISIS eventually. And today he was giving a progress report.
Margaret, I want to ask you about some of that rhetoric that we were just hearing from the president, the more forceful rhetoric about, if you're an ISIS leader, the message from the U.S. is that you cannot hide. Essentially, you're next. Realistically, what are the chances of accomplishing some of these things for the duration of the president's term? And also, how critical is it that the coalition allies, particularly the Gulf states, we heard him say he's sending the Defense Secretary Ash Carter to the Middle East to work with coalition partners. How critical will countries like Saudi Arabia be in fighting ISIL successfully?
Well, two questions there, both important ones. I think the president's language today was meant to message, as Dan laid out, this is a war that we are fighting, and we are full speed ahead here, particularly with targeting top leaders. The White House has emphasized that the intelligence that the U.S. has really improved over the past year, and so they are able to take out more top fighters on the battlefield. So it's been this slow progress, they say, but progress, and so they think that's going to intensify from here. When it comes to the role that other coalition allies could play, the president said very directly there, we want more help. The call has been put out to allies to add to military support. No country will give ground troops to this fight in Syria or in Iraq. No country has stepped up to that. Special operators, the U.S. has said they will put on the ground, and they've been asking other allies, the French, the Turks, perhaps the Brits, the U.K., I should say, to add special operators as well. But when it comes to a Saudi role, an Arab role within the region, there has been some criticism on the part of the U.S. when they're talking to their Arab allies, saying, you guys are being distracted by this other war that's happening in Yemen. You're not committed enough to the offensive in Syria and Iraq. The counter to that is that the U.S. has been frank. It doesn't really need any help with airstrikes. It needs intelligence. That's what they're leaning on the Arab allies to help step up and give. They're also, and this is a different angle here, diplomatically leaning on the Saudis and Arab states to bring the Syrian civil war to an end. So you just saw this past week, Saudi Arabia hold a big conference of the Syrian opposition, basically trying to twist arms and say, guys, you need to get organized, come in with an agenda, and be able to sit down and negotiate across the table from the Syrian president, Bashar al-Assad's delegation, because the U.S. is trying to get those talks going by as soon as January 1st. And it's been a heck of a lot easier for Russia to step up and bring their patron, Bashar al-Assad, to the table than it has been for the Arabs in the U.S. to get the Syrian opposition together to sit down. So that's where the U.S. is pushing the Arab allies, deliver on us diplomatically, because they're not seeing the kind of military support that they've wanted.